All right, we're back, and I am with Joe Moskowitz. Joe is the Director of Business Development and Strategic Solutions at Dealpath. Joe, welcome.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, everybody, for having me. So I'll give a little background on Dealpath. We were founded in 2014. We're dually headquartered both in San Francisco and here in New York, where I'm based. And really what we're striving to do is to be the central command center for all things deal management. So, you know, as it's sort of displayed here in this visual, we're trying to sit at the center of whatever deal management means to our customers, whether it be acquisitions, dispositions, refinancing deals, you know, debt and lending in that whole area. And how can we layer automation, create efficiencies, and ensure that our clients are continuing to work their deals through their life cycle in a smart way to sort of create that sophisticated, modern investment management shop. So what we strive to do is to, you know, create a user interface that's friendly, that's intuitive, and that's configurable. And that's really key for us because we understand that all of our clients have very unique ways to go about their various deals, right? Whether it's different deal types, whether they have different methodologies for geographic areas, different tasks, and leveraging different teams, we need to be able to create efficiencies and add value for all those different scenarios. So what we do is really try to combine what we see as industry best practices across the board with configurability to be able to solve for what's specific to our investors, right? To our investment management clients. We don't want to enter into you know, their tech stack, their tech ecosystem, as Stephen was alluding to earlier, not having to really undergo a large amount of change management, right? And so we strive to really get an understanding, a deep understanding of what's working well for them, what sort of workflows and reporting goes into successful deals that they've executed on in the past, and to really sit in the middle of all of that.
Do you find, and Stephen, feel free to jump in whenever you're available, do you find that you really have to sit with them to see what their current process is like in order to be able to figure out not only how to model it, maybe modeling the current process is not a great idea because the process isn't good, right? You might recognize that right away. What are you looking for whenever you're doing that with a client?
Yeah, we actually uncover a lot of that before our clients are leveraging Dealpath, because a huge part of the value that we need to show before they sign on as a customer is what is this going to look like when you're using it, right? Because we can't really come into an organization and say, here's a generic platform that you can leverage for deal management. That's not the value that we add. That's not what our clients are looking for. So, you know, early in our conversations, we really just try to have a conversation. We try to get an understanding of, you know, what happens in this scenario. If you're looking at, you just raised a fund that's going to focus on industrial assets or multifamily assets, which we're seeing a lot of today. What is that going to look like for you, so that we can then, you know, manipulate the platform, repurpose it, create the things that you want to see, configure it to a way that is going to make sense the way that you're doing things, and modernize your process a little bit. Not, you know, create net new processes unless it's something that you want to happen, but add sophistication and modernize that.
Any questions on that one, Stephen?
No, other than you did mention customization, and I just kind of think when you're talking about deals, it's a little bit less structured than other pieces of information in real estate. So you did mention you can customize. Like, is that a strategic intent of Dealpath? Is let every company, every client, you know, start them out with a template, but let them build it from there? You know, what is it they want to consider a deal, and what is the information that you want to track?
For sure, we've seen multiple scenarios, right? So we can, you know, come to the table with sort of templatized, this is what we've seen for typical acquisitions, and we can start there and sort of iterate on that. But more frequently, what we see is, let's partner and build something within Dealpath that is unique to us in this organization, and let's make it successful, right? And that's really the core of our implementation process. And we have our data model, and at the top of our data model is the deal and the property. And then we do have a very high level of configurability. And on the customization front, we enable our end users to build out info fields, which are really just data fields within our platform that they want to see as it relates to either the deal or the property. So it's custom data fields within the framework of our data model, and then allowing that to be passed through our API framework.
What about when you run into a client where they may have a very complex workflow with an investment committee that has to do approvals for their deal procedure, their review process is complex? How do you model that?
I mean, it all starts with getting a really deep understanding of what that looks like, right? And then configuring the platform to enable them to be successful and automate that in Dealpath. And that's part of our implementation process. We recognize that often our clients have very specific ways they go about their investment committee approval process and what their investment committee wants to see out of an IC memo. So we take all those things that they're sort of married to and they want to automate, and we do just that. We automate the way that the data gets populated in an IC memo. We format it and enable our users to iterate on the formatting of how that's going to be displayed. We can automate the exporting of that. We can automate who has access to that IC memo, and then sort of leverage our configurable workflows to play into their processes as it relates to the investment committee.
Got it. I think one of the other areas that people have struggled with was all of that documentation and where it gets stored. Is it stored internally into the system? Does it go into a network shares? Is it part of a different document management system? How do you interconnect with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're a SaaS platform. It's stored on Dealpath. So solving the problem of, hey, what's the latest and most updated version of this, of this IC memo, or where can I find the latest updated data on this deal that I'm working? It's going to be in Dealpath, and any of the data points that relate to each other in Dealpath, if one's updated, it'll update everywhere in the platform. If it's on the IC memo and you update it on this page over here, it'll feed the IC memo. And so it's a way to really add a layer of data governance on top of the deal workflow, which is something that we've seen as a major issue that a lot of our clients are facing before using Dealpath, because they live in all of these various Excel models, all of these various Excel-based pipeline trackers where there could be multiple versions of that, and they're not sure where it's stored or what's the most updated data set.
I think one thing too with clients, where one of the things they're most interested in is how is it going to integrate with my ERP system? How am I going to get information from an existing deal? Thinking about acquisitions, I've heard maybe for every 100 deals, 10% move past the letter of intent, maybe term sheet, and of those, maybe only maybe 3 or 4 might actually close. How does that then flow into one of the main ERP systems?
Yeah, and we're definitely thinking about that, right? We're solving for the deal's life cycle from the opportunity to executing on that deal, but we recognize the fact that we're coming into a sophisticated tech ecosystem, a tech stack where we have to interface upstream and we have to interface downstream. So how can we ensure that we're ingesting the opportunities that are coming across our clients' desks, but also when you execute on a deal, as you're talking about, Chuck, how do we hand that off to the ERP? And so we are, we just joined MRI's partnership program. We're going to be doing the same with Yardi, and we're always looking for ways that we can interface with these ERPs, right? And then, the use cases are, there's multiple of them, right? How can we pass the necessary deal data to the accounting administration team to create that net new asset record in Yardi or an MRI? And then on the flip side, how do we bring that data back, whether it's to kick off a disposition workflow or to just allow our deal teams to have insights into the owned portfolio to make more intelligent investment decisions. So those are the integrations and the ERP interfaces that we're currently working to build out. And so definitely looking forward to increasing our functionality and our partnerships with the
if we like, you remember that Cumulus model that I started with, if you had that common key like a property ID that just survived from the day the acquisition, the deal was even considered, all the way through into the ERP system and through distribution, that just brings so much of that data together. That it is always an interesting part of that piece. Stephen, how was for you, that level of integration, that level of handoff, did that work well?
Yes, so I think Dealpath really does a nice job with integration in that it provides an API. We're kind of hands-on with our integrations. So, when there is a good API that you can really, push and pull data, we love that rather than just some sort of upload, download. But one thing that Joe hasn't mentioned is they do have this ability for end users to push data from an Excel. Like an end user can define an Excel template and they can bring it right in without, and that's more one time, or maybe it's, I'm not exactly sure every scenario where they use that, but it doesn't even involve IT. IT can do the nightly job of, pushing, pulling data back and forth, but the users can do their ad hoc things that they need to do.
Interesting. Well, good. Well, Joe, thanks again. We're going to catch up with you at the end. We'll bring everybody back on in a second.